Greetings, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We are going to give a few more minutes just for people to show up, but once 1 or 2 minutes goes by, I'm just going to get right into the material because tonight it's going to be very exciting. We're talking about the inner child energies, what the inner child is, the importance of connecting with it, and really using it as a permanent ally. Because the inner child fundamentally represents the aspects of ourselves that are pure. Now, what do I mean by a pure aspect? What I mean by this is as we grow and as we develop, we pick up what you might consider to be impurities or negative belief systems from the world around us. And we begin to form an identity that's sort of out of alignment with who we are. And the process, right, of rediscovering oneself and finding oneself is letting go of those things so we can illuminate that pure consciousness that the inner child reflects. So, in other words, the inner child is the self that we were in the physical reality before we picked up all the extra stuff from the world around us. So, that level of consciousness still exists, is still here for you because all things exist here and now. Time is a relative experience. We create the experience of it, but in reality, there's only right here and right now, which means that past reality with that inner child, that pure self is still there and is available to you at all times. Now, how do you communicate with that level, right? It's one thing to know it's there, but how do you access it? Well, many of you are actually in contact with your inner child, but may not recognize it. The conscience, right? The conscience is a translation of that inner child energy. That's the little voice that says, hey, like, that's not the best thing for you to do. Like, that's not the best way to treat this person. Right? That little voice that's guiding us that we sometimes listen to and sometimes say, oh, no, not now. That is the inner child communicating with you because that core of pure consciousness is you. And the inner child's really a symbol that we've created to reflect back to us that pure level that is a blending of divine energy and childlike innocence. That's what our core is. That's the nature of our core energy. So the inner child is a symbol that is reflecting back these qualities. So if you've gotten messages from your conscience, that's an expression of inner child energy. And the key is to begin to listen to it more. And on top of this, it's not just a matter of sort of listening to it in those moments, although that's an incredibly important part. What's really important is developing a relationship with this level of yourself. That means talking to this level of yourself. That means demonstrating and living the energy of that level in your life. And this is something that to some of you might sound kind of new, but the stuff that Ryok talks about and the Sasani being Bashar talks about of following your passion, following your joy is this, because the truly most exciting option for you is going to be an option that's a total energy match for that pure level of consciousness, for that inner child. So when you allow for yourself to live from that level, you are automatically following your passion and following your joy. The main key is differentiation of the different frequencies that we perceive, right? Because they say, right, we have three minds, right? There's the brain, there's the heart, there's the intestines, right? The gut mind. And sometimes they all want totally different things, right? They're sending us all types of different signals. And sometimes they're conflicting. You're like, which thing do I listen to? Which one is me, right? That's a big thing to be aware of, right? When you have all these conflicting thoughts and ideas that are telling you contradictory things, it's like, which one do I listen to? The key is to essentially listen to none of them. Get quiet and relax. Don't listen to any of them. Get quiet and relax and tune into the stillness. Tune into the heartbeat, in particular, the spaces between the heartbeat, and that level of pure consciousness will start to become more obvious. It will start to become more available, and you'll start to intuit and feel the option that is right for you, that is best for you. You'll start to feel it because you already know it, right? Your conscious, right, already knows the best thing to do. It's just the stuff we've accumulated that gets in the way of us being able to perceive that signal. So whenever you're like, what do I do? This, my brain's telling me this, my heart's telling me that, my belly's telling me this other thing. Just relax and let go of all of it and just breathe into that space. Breathe into the heart. Close your eyes and just feel that darkness. Feel just that place that you go into that's between waking state and the dreaming state. Go into that center space. And that is going to let that inner child, pure consciousness energy come right through. And the inner child's also really amazing to connect with because the inner child contains within it what I call the soul blueprint. And what I mean by soul blueprint is the following. Our soul, when it projects into the incarnation, it passes through a filter. It's like a geometric pattern. And this geometric pattern contains within it all types of different themes, qualities. You might know these things as the archetypes. There are certain archetypal energies that are a part of this soul filter. And it might relate to, for some people, the archetype of being a healer, right? To other people, it might be the archetype of the magician or the musician or the painter or the parent or the child, right? There's so many different types of archetypes, different types of character themes that make up what I call the soul blueprint. It's not like we have just one. We have a variety of these different things working together. And they all work together to create this synergistic character quality that represents the unique you. And when you get in touch with that pure consciousness, you are getting in touch with the closest translation that you have of the soul blueprint. Right? Because in terms of energy states, the inner child is closer to you vibrationally than the soul is, right? Because you, in a sense, have memory of the inner child, right? You kind of know that feeling. Some of you can remember way back, right? Before the ego was even formed, right? You can remember like when you were very young, right? So you have access to that inner child because you, in a sense, physically were that. And the soul is something the inner child introduces you to as you connect with the inner child more, because the inner child's very much connected to the soul, right? The child has one foot in the physical reality, one foot in the spirit realm. So when you connect to the inner child, it will introduce you to the soul level of yourself. But getting in touch with the inner child will also give you access to the soul blueprint. And that translates as your purpose, right? Why are you here? What are you supposed to be doing, right? Why were you born? Why did you choose this incarnation? These are the questions everyone's asking, and no one can answer it but you. No one can answer it but you. Ryo talks about this. Bashar talks about this. The idea is your purpose is to be yourself. Well, how do you really be yourself? What does that mean? Some people don't even know what that means. And there's, many different answers on what that means. My understanding of what being yourself means is to live in a way that represents, to the best of your ability, that pure inner child consciousness and the soul blueprint it's connected to. So for me, this translates as being in that energy state that is the state of pure consciousness, while also taking steps in my life that represent that soul blueprint, that represent my major passions. For example, I resonate very much with the archetype of the healer. That's part of my soul blueprint. So I study acupuncture. I study energy healing. I also resonate with the archetype of the artist. So I've been doing artwork recently, as well as the musician. I've been making more music again, and the teacher. And, here I am sharing this information and doing the channelings, So these are different archetypes that are a part of my soul blueprint. So when I am fully living in the energy state that is the inner child, then it becomes really easy to bring that energy state into the expression of the soul blueprint. And then when you do that, when you channel that pure consciousness level as you express these things that are exciting to you, you then are effectively demonstrating who you are. You are truly being yourself. And it feels so good. It feels weightless. It is beautiful. It's a beautiful state of being to be in. And it's a state of being that we all have access to because we've already been it. We have already been this. And now we're revivifying it. We're making it new. We're making it fresh. We're giving it the spotlight and letting go of all of the things that say we can't. We can't be the inner child. We can't follow our joy. We're putting those things down because we have all seen what those perspectives of I can't do this leads to. It leads to all of the generational suffering that our ancestors have had to go through. The reason Earth has the problems that it has is because people have been listening to that negative ego saying, oh, you can't be yourself. You can't do this, instead of listening to the inner child. That's why we have all the crazy issues we have here. So the solution to global issues, the solution to personal issues is demonstrating that self, because that's where the solutions come from. That's where the true answers come from. That's where the next steps of the best story ever told come from. So this level of the self is something that you can access, and it's something you can really amplify. You can make your awareness of this level very pronounced. So it's something you always see. It's something you're always tuning into. And it's something you're always checking in with, before you make choices, right? It's like sometimes we just make choices kind of haphazardly, unconsciously. But when you have a strong awareness of this inner child and a working relationship with it, then all of a sudden you're like, hey, inner child, how do you feel about this? What do you think about this? Do you like this option? And you can start to really get the answer of your conscience like that. It will just tell you. And it's a really beautiful thing to cultivate that relationship. So there's, like I said, many ways to do it. One of the ways that I have gotten into the developing of the relationship with the inner child, with pure consciousness, is through the inner alchemy practices from Taoism. So I practice Qigong, and I also have on this Patreon shared many Qigong techniques, more to come. And these techniques are ultimately designed to assist you in cultivating an awareness of that level and physicalizing that level through Qi, through energy, right? Because we are surrounded by Qi. Our bodies make Qi. And you can gather that Qi and condense it into a sphere that doesn't break down, right? It's like an energy sphere. It has life. You put your heartbeat into it. You put the energy of your arousal and your orgasm into it. You put the light of the cosmos into it. And you are literally giving this Qi, not just your life, but you're also giving it the life of the universe. And then you internalize this Qi, and it becomes a physical translation of that inner child. And because you've internalized it, because you've stored it within you, it becomes a living part of you. And every day it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Now, these inner alchemical practices come later in the Taoist formulas. The formulas that begin to get into this territory are fusion of the 5 elements and Kan and Li. There are 3 major Kan and Li formulas. Kan translates to water. Li translates to fire. And in Kan and Li, what we do is we take the fire from the heart, the water from the kidneys, and we invert them in the belly, in the lower dantian. So the fire's below, rising up, water's on top, falling down, and we have a cauldron, an earth cauldron between them, which is neutral. It balances fire and water so they don't extinguish each other. And what happens when you have a cauldron, fire below, water on top, you have water boiling, making steam. And this coupling of water and fire within you generates a healing psychic energy that rejuvenates the body. Now, when you take the feeling of orgasm and arousal and you bring it into the water and the fire coupling, you give life to the cauldron. And that life then over time evolves and grows, and it becomes your literal inner child. Now, of course, we all have the inner child already without this process I just mentioned, but this is an energy technique that internalizes that level and it becomes something you feel. Now, this is not a formula I would recommend anyone go out and do. It is one of the advanced formulas. It is recommended that you have spent at least 2 years training in all of the lower formulas before doing Kan and Lee. It's really powerful. I know a lot of people think meditation is just in your imagination and it's, kind of connecting you with this other level and, but it's not really a real thing. This is a real practice where you are calling in the energy of the stars, the planets, the earth. It's big chi, it's big energy. And if you are not ready, it can be not good for you because your energy body's not ready to process it. So if you are excited by the vibe of what I have just mentioned, of this Kan and Lee process, train in the Tao formula. Start with the basics. If you're a part of my Patreon, we do these trainings each month for people that are in the higher tiers. But I will also be sharing these basic videos on the lower tiers so everyone here can at least get started with the basic formulas. Because when you follow these formulas all the way, you go into total self-actualization. It's such a beautiful experience. So I wanted to let you know that that's one way that people go about building that conscious relationship with the inner child. In the Tao as well, we also have the 5 major yin organs. So we have the heart, the spleen, lungs, kidneys in the back, and then the liver. And these 5 organs represent the 5 major elements. Now, your consciousness is everything and nothing. But when you incarnate into the physical reality, your infinite consciousness expresses itself into the 5 major elements. So because these 5 organs represent the 5 elements, it is said that different aspects of the soul are housed in each organ. And when we do the fusion formulas, we see the organ spirit of each organ as a child. We see it as a child. And the reason I'm mentioning all of this is because there are so many techniques to get in touch with this level, but also these things aren't new. These Tao techniques are thousands of years old. And the Taoist sciences are some of the most evolved mystical sciences out there. They are incredibly powerful. There was a reason the communist government tried to wipe out Taoism. There's a reason. It's because the stuff they do works. It's very real magic. It's very real energy work. And they were doing this inner child stuff thousands of years ago. They saw it as the most important thing to return to the source. And that inner child, right, is that last sort of physical level that we have before we totally immerse with the source. And the child, 1 foot in physical reality, 1 foot in spirit reality. So it's a great aspect of yourself to connect with. Now, if you are interested in some of this stuff, we can talk about it. We can talk about it more in private sessions. I'm happy to do that. And I'll also be making more videos talking about some of these higher formulas and the basics so we can just dive in together with a lot of this stuff. And I just want to tune in to see if there's anything I have left out that I wanted to share about this topic, this is something I wanted to share for all of you. You all can get started with it super easy. So, like I said, the inner child translates in many ways as the conscience, all right? The little voice that's like, hey, you know, that's not the best way. Hey, you know, that's, not what you prefer to do. But that's only one way the inner child manifests. Another way the inner child manifests is through paying attention to what inspires you, what excites you. When you think back to when you were young, very young, what were some of the favorite things you had to do? What are the things that you could do all day that totally took away all of the cares, all the worries, that got you into that playful, imaginative flow state? Begin to recall those things. And you can start when you were young, but then go up a little bit more. What were some of the things the teenage you really loved to do that were holistic, that got you into the flow state? And just pay attention to your life. Pay attention to the things that you got into that really sparked joy within your consciousness. Because those actions are representative of that soul blueprint level, which the inner child represents and symbolizes. So pay attention to those things too. Those are going to be very, very important, because it's one thing to know that, we are consciousness. It's one thing to know that we are all one macro being, together in unity. But knowing these things and living it are two different things. And to really live that awareness of the higher worlds, the higher energies, is to fully be you, which means to do the things that you were put on earth to do. And that's how you can really sink your teeth into this ultimate life journey that is your birthright. No one else can be you like you. No one else is capable of doing that. Only you can. So the inner child energy is here to assist you with this. Now, I just want to scan in, see if there's anything else I want to touch upon. I want to, give everyone as many pointers and tools as I can give without going into a full technique teaching. I wanted to kind of keep this more of a talk. So let me just tune in for a second, see if there's anything else. Oh, hey, Jill, you're very welcome. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. I just want to tune in, see if there's anything else I'm leaving out that might be of service here. Oh, the other thing to pay attention to is your dreams, because sometimes the inner child will connect with you through dreams. You'll get certain messages. And again, this represents the conscience, right? Sometimes you have a dream about something that didn't really sit right. You wake up and you're like, I really didn't like the way that felt. I wasn't a fan of what I went through in that dream world. Well, that's the inner child again saying, hey, well, I understand you don't like the dream, but see if there's a connection between the energy of that dream and something in your life that you're doing, or you're connected to, or you're participating in. And that's a way you can also access more of the inner child energy, through paying attention to the dreams. And of course, you may have certain things in your dreams that you do that are amazing. You love it. It's just so fun and exciting. And that's, again, the inner child saying, hey, take that energy that was just so blissful and amazing from the dream and look into your life and see what options reflect that. Where's there a link? Where's there a connection? And that's another way you can begin to draw upon this energy. And the more you do that is of this nature of pure consciousness, the more you receive. And what I mean by this is a lot of people are going through experiences of scarcity. And that's not just financial. Sometimes that's social, communal, spiritual, right? There's all different types of scarcity that exist. But a lot of people go through scarcity because they're not living holistically in a way that represents that pure consciousness level. Because the nature of consciousness is the nature of all that is. It is infinite. It is abundant. So when you are tuning into that inner self level, that inner child level, you are tuning in to the nature of all that is itself, which is infinite abundance, infinite allowance, infinite freedom, infinite acceptance, infinite love, infinite exploration, infinite connection, right? These things that everybody wants. That's what the inner child is the door to. So to open the door, live it, and your life will begin to take on those qualities. You can't have scarcity existing at the same time as true abundance, right? They are contradictory. They are contradictory energies. So as you begin to tune into that pure consciousness level, you will allow more abundance in, more of what you prefer in, and it will begin to crowd out the energies of scarcity as you stop empowering those energies. So it's almost like this. Whatever reality we feed is the reality we perceive. So if you are unconsciously or consciously feeding these negative realities or scarcity-based realities, then more of it comes, more of it comes, more of it comes. And sometimes we don't know we're doing it. But when you develop that relationship with the inner child and when you live that energy, that becomes the reality you perceive. And eventually you will find that you're no longer making choices that represent the impurities, right? The negative things we pick up. It'll get to a point where you are living holistically from that pure consciousness level. And that becomes your world. They say in the magical traditions that at the highest level of magic, the magician gives rise to their own universe and dwells in it like God did with this one and does with this one. And that's what we're doing here. That's what we're doing here. Really, we are giving rise to our personal utopia through living it, through breathing it, through being it, and then we're dwelling in it. That's what we're all doing. You know, we are reflections of God, reflections of the infinite, doing that exact same thing. So no matter what level you're at, that's what you're doing because we're all creating reality. So you can do it in a way that represents the pure consciousness level, the reflection of all that is, or you could do it in a way that represents the impurities, right? The negative things we pick up. You always have the choice and you're not alone. There are so many people on this journey with you that love you, that support you. And I hope this talk has left you all feeling a little bit more inspired, a little bit more empowered. And I hope this information can be of service to all of you. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was a lot of fun. I'm excited to be back on the Patreon scene. I had to take some personal time because stuff got a little crazy in many different meanings of that word. So I'm happy to be back. My unconditional love and gratitude to all of you. And I will see you all soon. Take care, guys. Bye-bye. Oh, actually, you know what? Before I get off, if anyone has any questions, feel free to type them in. I can stick around to take a few questions, but if not, I can let us all enjoy our evenings. I'll give just a minute, but yeah, it's so nice to have you all here. You know, these are really fun to do, and it gives me, I think, a lot of time to reflect. Because whenever I'm delivering this type of content to all of you, I'm also playing with it, chewing on it, living it, experimenting with it. So it's, it's of service to me to do this. I benefit, I think, just as much as all of you do. So how did my solar system energy work unfold? All right, Manuel, thank you for the question. So I'm still practicing it. And just to give you all some context, Manuel was asking about a practice I was doing that was specifically designed to improve my personal relationship to other zodiac signs. So as you know, we have the 12 major zodiac signs. Each zodiac sign ruled by a particular planet. And as you know, in the zodiac, there's some signs that get along, some signs that don't. And that has to do with the way that the planets the way that the stars interact with one another. Some interactions are very compatible, right? Best friends, lovers, soulmates. Others are not so compatible, right? Rivals, villains, right? There's all types of ways that can unfold. So the theory is, if you balance and heal your relationship with the planet or star of another zodiac sign, then theoretically you will have more positive interactions with those people on Earth whom are connected to that planet or zodiac sign. So that's what I was getting into, because there was a relationship in my life I wanted to, work with in a more loving way. But that experience kind of took some unexpected turns. So I didn't really get an opportunity to test out how that meditation translated into the real world relationship. So I didn't really get much of an opportunity. But what I will say is this: through working with these planetary energies, which rule the zodiac, I myself have found that I am more loving towards people. I have found that I'm able to get along with more people. And I find within my own consciousness, I'm more balanced. So I can't speak on how it affected that specific relationship, but in my other relationships and with my relationship with myself, it has definitely made a difference. So great question, Manuel. Thank you for bringing that up. Cool. Well, everybody, it looks like that was our only question. So I am going to sign off, although we have more viewers now. Hey, everybody who tuned in. I think we're going to get off the live stream now, but catch the replay. This was a lot of fun. So enjoy your night, everybody. Have a good one.